What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22 My Team Career Mode. Last time out, we were at the Singapore Grand Prix, and after a pretty shocking qualifying, we were quite fortunate to come home in P5 and just about hold on to our championship lead. As it stands, we are currently leading the championship by 6 points over our closest rival, Lando Norris, in second. He's just had a win. You can see our recent run of form. Compared to his, not absolutely fantastic. You know, he's had a second place and then 9th, 7th, 11th and 1st. And we've had a win followed by a DNF, a 6th, a DNF, a 17th and a 5th. So we've only scored points in 2 of the last 5 races. He scored points in 4 of the last 5 races, even if they were more minor points positions in a couple of them. So yeah, we're not looking ultimately hot at the moment. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri doing very well to achieve the targets that I've set out for him. All I wanted him to do was outperform Théo Pourchaire over the course of the season, and he looks like he's on course to do that so far, currently on 79 points with 6 races to go. And I can't believe we're already at this stage in the World Championship where there's only 6 races left. We have Japan, we have COTA, we have Mexico, we have Portugal, we have Brazil, and finally Abu Dhabi. So yeah, even if this race doesn't go super well for us, I'm thinking that we should be able to start clearing things up once we move into the Americas for the final few rounds. And also obviously there's going to be Portugal and Abu Dhabi in that as well. But you know, generally the sort of Americas section of the calendar, and I'm hoping that it'll be quite good. We managed to get through in 3rd in P1, and that was surprisingly good, you know. We were behind a couple of cars, sure, but I still thought we were showcasing pretty good pace at this point. I was pretty satisfied with the idea of us being in 3rd, thinking, you know, maybe we can challenge up at the sharp end of the grid, top 5, sort of that kind of thing in qualifying. That'd be pretty good, you know. This is not a track I do too well around, so so to have that kind of thing wouldn't be so bad. But as it stands, that's where we were in practice. P3, Piastri a little bit further down, but he didn't do any runs on the soft compound tyres. So you know, we'll see what happens. Obviously that Red Bull seat is going to be up for grabs next season. I'm curious to see who's going to fill that. Maybe they'll try and poach Piastri off of me. I know that they're a driver whom Red Bull look upon with intrigue, but you know, there are a number of good drivers on the grid at the moment who I think that they could try and get back. Maybe someone who has been part of the Red Bull Driver Academy, perhaps an Albon or a Gasly or someone like that, as we now move into qualifying. And this is our first flying lap on a set of fresh soft compound tyres, and we're going to see what kind of time we can do to kick off the scoring. You can see Perez goes fastest with a 1:28.6, and we're just a little bit adrift of him on a 1:28.8. So I was thinking, you know, this looks like we're going to be pretty nailed on to get through to Q2 as things stand. And you can see that we go around on these tyres and we actually improve a little bit at the start, but we end up going out on a new set of softs, and we can't quite find the improvement. Actually, we're only up by a few thousandths of a second, and you can see things are pretty drastic. We're down in P18, we improved by 3 or 4 hundredths of a second, and in the end it's only good enough for P17, and our qualifying is over before it's even really begun on this occasion. That is dreadful. Absolutely dreadful from us. How close were we to safety, I wonder? We did a 1:28.7, I think. So yeah, we can't have been more than a few hundredths, maybe a tenth at best, off of Q2. And yeah, that is absolutely gutting that we couldn't find a little bit more time. I really don't know what happened there, you know. I was really anticipating that we should have been able to make it through to Q2 and Q3, to be perfectly honest. You know, the car has the pace in it to get to Q3 pretty much every single weekend. There's nowhere where we're particularly weak around or anything like that. So yeah, it's just not acceptable. And if Norris is going to be winning this race, or you know, even P2 or something like that now, it's looking like he's pretty nailed on to take the lead of the championship by quite some margin. So yeah, I really have to try and see what I can recover now in the race.
come to you live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that has seen many title deciders over the years. Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix an indispensable stop in any Formula One season. We're southwest of the city of Nagoya today at the unique figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit. 3.6 miles and 18 corners make up a lap here, with average speeds approaching 136 miles per hour. DRS will be available, of course, into the potential passing opportunity at turn 1, although the best place for overtaking will be through 130R and into the final chicane. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Sainz, Sergio Perez, and Russell, Albon, Magnussen, Stroll, and Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, Ocon, Max Verstappen, and Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Théo Pourchaire, Robinson, and Nicholas Latifi, Lundgaard, Schwartzman, Gasly, and Guan Yu Zhou. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Why don't we kick off by discussing Max Verstappen? Looks like they have a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let
It's another fantastic qualifying from Oscar Piastri, who's made it once again onto the top spot in qualifying. Let's hope that he can convert it on race day against Lando Norris and do me a favour. We're going to see if we can battle our way back into the points-paying positions. I think we should be able to do it. You know, there's a couple of Aston Martins who are sort of on the fringes of the points right now, so I'm thinking that we will have the potential to make our way up at least into sort of 8th, if nothing better than that. But I want to ideally, you know, get more points than that. But I think that's my target, is going to be sort of 7th or 8th. You know, I think Albon's in the mix there as well. So we do have an opportunity to try and make our way forward, and we miss the grid box ever so slightly, 0.1 meters over. But you know, it's a sport of fine margins, and this time we lost out as the lights come on. And the lights go out as we switch to the replay camera, and you can see that Oscar Piastri has had a pretty clean getaway there. We've had an okay getaway as we're now trying to challenge down onto the back of Pourchaire and Ricciardo in front of us. And yeah, you can see that Latifi there has dived up my inside. He's potentially trying to get round into 17th place, but I'm going to be defending as hard as I can from him to try and get as many positions as I can off of the start. It's not been fantastic. We've only held position, but we're going to see if we can move up on the cars in front of us now. Lando Norris's teammate Ricciardo ahead of us once again. He's taken a grid penalty, I believe, which I can only assume was done with the aim to prevent me from overtaking. They're clearly sacrificing Ricciardo now for the sake of Norris's championship. And you know, this was a tactic that the Mercedes and Red Bull did in 2021 when Hamilton and Verstappen were locked in a very tight battle. Someone's lost their front wing there. I think it's the hometown hero of Yuki Tsunoda. His front wing is completely broken. You can see as we dive up the inside of Daniel Ricciardo there. So we've already made the overtake happen, and that thing I was discussing is completely pointless. We'll see if he challenges me back now, but he is on those medium tyres, whereas we're on the soft. So we should be able to get a decent gap built to him without too much hassle. And now we're going to see if we can try and get ahead of Théo Pourchaire, our former teammate, who I think is also going to hold a grudge against us. You can see that I think it was Verstappen there going for a move as well. We're going to try and go around the outside of Pourchaire here. Can't quite make it happen. We're going to switch to the inside, go up the inside. I thought about potentially trying to make a move on Tsunoda there as well. I think we are going to do it, but he has to cut back so he can dive down into the pit lane as well. With that damage, he's got to repair that front wing before he is going anywhere. And yeah, off of a decent start, we have now made our way up into P14. So that's 3 places on the opening lap, not too bad. And we're going to see if we can gain some more as we progress through the race. Next up is our rival, Max Verstappen. He's had to take a grid penalty as well. which has bumped him down into P13, and we're going to see if we can get ahead of him sooner rather than later. We dive up the inside as we go into the final chicane, and yeah, that was pretty textbook from us. And now we're going to set our sights on the Alpine of Esteban Ocon. He's another driver I could potentially foresee going to Red Bull. I think he's got the pace. Whether they'll be willing to outbid Alpine for him, you know, the golden boy of Alpine, I don't know. But yeah, he's a pretty talented driver. Now we're looking at our former teammate Théo Pourchaire here in the Alfa Romeo, and yeah, unfortunately, it's going to be an early bath for him as his Alfa Romeo grinds to a halt as we move through the S's. That's quite unfortunate for him, but that's how racing can be sometimes. You know, I've had a few of those this season. Don't think it's his first this season either. You might remember that Chinese Grand Prix where he was leading and his car broke down with less than 10 laps to go. We inherited the victory that day, back when we really were a force to be reckoned with in Formula One, and now we're just you know, pootling around outside the points, trying desperately to make our way up as we get ahead of Ocon there, and yeah, that was pretty nice. And we'll see if we can continue moving up the order into the points. We've only got a couple cars to get ahead of now to find ourselves there. Next up is Schumacher, then Alonso, then you've got those two Aston Martins and Albon. So I think P7 is definitely on the cards here at minimum, and we'll see what other kinds of positions we can make up as we progress through this race. We're closing down on Schumacher now. I think we're going to try and go for the same move we've been going for all race, up the inside at the chicane, dive down the inside, brake later, squeeze him out, come across the chicane. I think I cut him off a little bit there, but you know, I was ahead, it was my corner, and he had to back out in the end. So we make our way up into P11, and now we only have to make one more overtake to get into the points. And it is one of our old rivals who hasn't presented us with much of a challenge recently, but you know, he'll fight hard for every single position, Fernando Alonso. And in the first few seasons that we did in this career mode, he really was one of my biggest rivals. We're going to dummy him to the outside and then switch to the inside. You can see he was going to defend it a little bit. We've actually gone a tiny bit deep there, but we make the corner, and yeah, everything was absolutely textbook. And we've made our way into the points, and now we're going to try and close down on Magnussen. The Aston Martin finally perhaps coming good for him after almost 3 seasons of being at that team. You know, he's been moving around in a back marker car for a long time, but you know, him and Stroll in the points at the moment, that is a clear statement of intent. We are going to try and get ahead of Magnussen now. We're going to go up the inside again at this chicane. Once again, we go a tiny bit deep, but we make the corner, and yeah, they don't come easier than that. It's as simple as that. You know, I've been making the same overtake pretty much all race, and I don't intend on slowing down anytime soon. Next car we got to try and get ahead of is Lance Stroll, but these soft compound tyres are starting to go off a little bit. It's not too long before our pit stop on lap 10, so yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing much more on these tyres. Indeed, you can see that Stroll is in, and I am following suit. We're going to come into the pit stop. The tyres are actually over 60% worn, you can see there. I didn't realise that during the race. If you're wondering why there's the engine thing as well, that's just I'm using a pretty worn out MGU-H, which I'm planning on changing for the following Grand Prix. We've only got one more of those, so I need to be pretty conservative with my use of MGU-Hs, and yeah, we'll see where we come out in relation to the other cars that we were battling with. I think everything should be fine though. We've still got a number of medium compound runners who need to come in to fit the hards at probably, I'd say, lap 13 or 14 in this race. So yeah, a little bit of time left, but you can see that ultimately we do end up back in P9 where we were before the pit stop phase. We're now going to try and get ahead of Stroll. We're going to go up the inside at 130R, and yeah, we might make the move work. We're going to have to go to the outside of the chicane this time. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. We have to give him the space, but that gives us the inside line for the following part of the corner. We get the DRS on Albon, and yeah, up into P8. Only one more position I want to make up in this race, and we got 12 laps to do it. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about this one. You know, maybe we could even try and get some bonus points on the cars in front. There's a train there forming up with Perez, the 2 Ferraris, and Russell. So, you know, Perez I think is in 3rd at the moment. This could be a podium still if we can catch that train. But we got to get ahead of this man, the former Red Bull driver turned Williams driver, Alex Albon. We're going to do the same thing we did to Lance Stroll, round the outside at the chicane, switch to the inside for the following part, and yeah, up into P7. You love to see it. Perez has broken away from this train now, so it's just the 2 Ferraris and Russell, so I think P4 is going to be the best that we're getting out of this. Meanwhile, Norris has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri just not on the right strategy this time. Norris was doing a soft medium, Piastri was doing a medium hard, and now as we switch to the replay camera, you can see that is Sainz and Russell going side by side as we come on the run down to 130R, and this is going to make my signature overtake very difficult to do on this occasion. We've been diving up the inside of cars into the chicane the whole time, and we're going to do the same thing on both of them this time, but I don't know if it's going to quite pay off as we go 3 wide through pretty much the whole chicane. Who's going to have better traction? It's me, and I am ahead up into P5 in this Japanese Grand Prix. And yeah, we'll see now if we can get ahead of Charles Leclerc in front and make our way up into P4. That would be a fantastic recovery drive from P17 on the grid if we're capable of doing that. And you can see now that we are closing down Leclerc. I think actually he might have had some kind of issue, because it seems like he was going very slowly for a large part of the laps building up to this. He was holding up a train of Russell and Sainz, which is why they were wheel to wheel in the first place. And now you can see that we just absolutely breeze past him when we're burning the battery on the run down to 130R. And yeah, it's not really even a competition between me and him. We're completely ahead by the time we get to 130R. And all I can hope is that he holds up the cars behind for a long enough period that I can break away, stretch my legs a little bit. I doubt I'll make up the 7.5 seconds to Perez. And yeah, we are just going to try and settle now into this P4 position and bring home a good 12 points, maybe 13 if we can poach fastest lap off of Lando Norris and reduce the amount of points that he's scoring over me. It's currently 14. We'll see if we can reduce it maybe down to 12. Every point is going to matter here. He's 6 points ahead in the championship right now, so he'll be 6 points behind. So after this race, he'll be 8 points ahead. Yeah, we are going to have to try and grab a few solid performances in the ensuing races. You know, USA isn't necessarily my strongest circuit. Obviously, I have had poles, and I think I've had one podium there before. But then after that, we move into a number of races which go quite well for me. Mexico is one, Portugal is another, Brazil is another, and Abu Dhabi is usually pretty good for me as well. So once we get through COTA, I think we can have a really strong finale to the season, much like we did last year. You know, it was really in the later stages of the season that we showed what we were made of. We managed to overcome a deficit to Charles Leclerc, even with a few DNFs kind of trying to spoil our day. Obviously, we've got to be cognizant of those on this occasion as well. But the one thing we have this time that we didn't have last time is an absolute weapon driving for our team to give us some support. Yes, he didn't win today, but he still managed to come home and take fastest lap off of Lando Norris on the final lap as well. So Lando Norris will only be extending his gap by 7 points over me at most, and that is pretty good. As you can see that Sergio Perez has now stolen it as well. But Piastri came home to get a blinding P2. Even if he didn't get the win, I'm still very happy with that as we cross the line to take P4. And yeah, what a brilliant recovery drive from P17. But the question does have to be asked, how on earth did we end up starting in P17 to begin with? No penalties, no nothing. Maybe I should have taken some penalties in this race if this was the kind of pace we were showing. But yeah, it's just not good enough.
It was a tough race at times, but they've held on to take a great victory for McLaren today. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving that they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
So it is, of course, the real-life teammates taking 1 and 2 on the podium, with Perez, the racer who only has 5 races left in this Formula One career of his. Let's hope that they're going to be some good ones. Maybe he can grab a win at his home Grand Prix in Mexico coming up in a couple races time. But yes, Piastri takes P2, recovers 18 points for the team, and I think this Constructors is going to be nailed on for us at this point.
Here's how things look in the drivers' table. Lando Norris takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
I have to give it to Robinson. They demonstrated a very delicate touch in close proximity to other cars, as well as showing a lot of maturity and patience in difficult situations.
Let's move on to the Constructors. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. Meanwhile, good work from Aston Martin this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
That's a fantastic result for Aston Martin, a P6. They've taken themselves all the way from last to 9th in the championship now with 9 points in this race. P6 for Stroll and P10 for Magnussen. They'll be very happy with that. I'm pretty happy with the recovery we showed and the spirit, the never giving up that we had on display here. You know, it's disappointing that Piastri couldn't hold on to the lead, but like I said, I think he was just on the wrong strategy. The fact that he even managed to come home in P2 is pretty good when he was on a strategy that was not advantageous compared to the cars around him. So yeah, I'm pretty happy for him in that regard, and I'm pretty happy that after I had such a disappointing qualifying, I was able to recover as well as I did up into P4, recovering 12 points, making it so the gap at the top isn't insurmountable. And yeah, we have 5 more races now to try and recover that lead. This is the first time in the whole of this season that we haven't been in the lead of the championship. We won the first race, we won the second race, we won the third race, and then we had a podium and another win to open the season. So yeah, all in all, we really have just had an iron grip on this championship, which has been slowly whittled down by Lando Norris over the course of these most recent races. You know, there's so many races I can look back on and say, if only that had been differently. You know, like the Monza race where we failed to capitalize on the fact that we actually had a pretty decent qualifying. You know, we crashed into the back of Ricciardo, or the Belgium race where we had a DNF, or the France race where we had a DNF. You know, or one of the many races this season where we've had a poor qualifying that has limited the number of points that we've been able to score. I really have to say now that you know, I'm going to begin to start ruining those if it does transpire that we aren't going to win this championship. I'd have to look back on those, but we're not down and out just yet. You know, there's only 7 points in it, 5 races, including 4, which I would say are incredibly strong tracks for me. Races I've won time and time again. I just need to find this form that I had at the end of last season. You know, I can't seem to hook up quali laps quite as well as I was able to do at that point last season. Maybe I just need a bit more, you know, a bit more practice on these circuits or something. I don't know, or maybe I need to improve the setups. I really have no idea, but yeah, we need to find the pace very quickly. Otherwise, this championship will get away from us. We managed to recover a few points on Verstappen in this rivalry, but as things stand, he is winning it. And actually, this was the final race in the rivalry, so that will be the end, and we will be dropping the difficulty by 1, which inadvertently may actually help us to win this championship as well, because you know, the difficulty was a lot lower when I was hooking up those quali laps that were getting me pole after pole after pole last season. So so yeah, that might be a help. Piastri with another brilliant weekend, and we hold on to our lead in the Constructors, and that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.